Friends, I am indeed delighted to have Sri Sanjeev Kaushik, Additional Secretary in the Department of Financial Services in the Ministry of Finance, as our guest of honor at FCBA 2021 to deliver the keynote address. Sanjeev Kaushik, IAS Kerala 1992 batch, is an MBA from London Business School and mechanical engineer from BITS Pilani. He is also currently serving on the board of NABARD, Indian Bank, and New India Assurance Company. In 2018, Sanjeev was appointed full-time member of SEBI. From 2015 to 2018, he was CMD of the India Infrastructure Finance Company. Sanjeev has had a rich stint in global investment banking as Managing Director and Head of Research at HSBC Securities and as Managing Director and Head of Equity Research at Lehman Brothers. He has been Chairman of the Stock Holding Corporation of India, Chairman of the Infrastructure Company of India, UK, Governor on the board of MDI, and Chairman of Tourism Finance Corporation of India. Thank you, Sanjeev ji, for honoring us with your keynote at FCBA 2021.
First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers, Banking Frontiers. This is an excellent forum that you have been organizing and bringing a lot of very important stakeholders in the sector together. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of this edition of the National Cooperative Banking Summit. I'm really happy to be participating in these FCBA awards virtually this year. Now, as we are all aware, the cooperative sector, in particular cooperative banking, plays an extremely important role in contributing to various aspects of the development of the agricultural and rural economy. But since I focus a lot on financial inclusion in the Department of Financial Services, I would particularly like to appreciate the role that the cooperative banks play as far as financial inclusion is concerned. The kind of reach, the kind of coverage of even the remote, far-flung areas of our country that the cooperative sector has, whether it is through the cooperative banks at the state level, the district level, or indeed the rural cooperative banks, and even I would say the societies, the PACs, that is tremendous. And this has really allowed us to reach the benefits of financial services, access to banking, access to payment services, for example, to the farmers, to small borrowers, to the poor and needy of this country. In fact, while I'm talking about the role played by the cooperative banking sector, I would like to also mention the significant contributions that cooperative banks played during the pandemic. As you all saw during the lockdown all of last year and this year, we were able to reach even the most remote corners, and we were able to transfer direct benefits to accounts of people. We were able to reach subsidies. We were able to credit the PM Kisan Nidhi, for example, to farmers' accounts. And in a lot of these initiatives of the government of India, the cooperative sector has been a very, very vital ally, a very vital and important stakeholder. So I would like to thank you all at the very outset. Before I go into my comments today, I really like to say kudos to the cooperative sector and to cooperative banks in general for rendering this important service. Our Honorable Prime Minister himself has drawn the attention of the nation, and I quote from his words. He said that the common person should be a part of the process of development. Every house should prosper through cooperation, and the country should prosper through the prosperity of every family. Now, these are resounding words for all of us, and they serve to inspire us that it is through the prosperity of each and every individuals aggregated together as families, and then families and households coming together as the broad community. Cooperative banks are engaged in serving the community, and therefore these units of society play an extremely important role in socio-economic development. Recently, as you're all aware, There has been a historic move. The Ministry of Cooperation has been created, and this is further to realizing the vision, the dream of our founding fathers and of our government for Sehkar se Samriddhi, that is prosperity through cooperation. Government has signaled its deep commitment to community-based developmental partnership. And if I can quote the words of our Honorable Minister for Cooperation himself, I quote, "Cooperation is imbibed in the nature and culture of the people of India. It is not a borrowed idea. That is why the cooperative movement in India can never become irrelevant." So again, pointing to the important contribution, the relevance and the significance of the role played by the cooperation sector, and indeed by various agents and functionaries within that sector, primarily focusing on cooperative banks and cooperative societies. The current status of cooperatives, of course, represents a great opportunity. We have talked about their contribution and their strengths, but also there is a great opportunity because if you compare cooperative banks with their competitors like the scheduled commercial banks or private banks, or even the, I would say to an extent, the regional rural banks and small finance banks, there is a need to strengthen processes, to improve various aspects of governance. And most importantly, since I'm here on this platform provided by Banking Frontiers, I think there is a need to strengthen the technological adoption of some of these banks, the cooperative banks. And without saying that this is a weakness, of course, it's something that needs improvement. I would actually say this represents an opportunity for improvement. Because if we are able in the cooperative banking sector to strengthen technology and to strengthen our digital platforms, then imagine the combination that digital platform and the reach and the access that you have to the customers in the farthest corners of the country, what a powerful and strong paradigm that could become. The reach combined with the technology. And it is indeed to realize this opportunity and to work in the direction of technological adoption and improvement that a key step was taken recently. That is through the umbrella entity, which we have been discussing in this forum as well. The National Cooperative Finance and Development Corporation has been established as an umbrella entity, which will actually provide support to the sector and to functionaries in the sector with regard to strengthening the IT infrastructure, providing capital, infusing capital so that you have much stronger balance sheets and are able to resort to market borrowing if you are strong enough, to provide that liquidity which allows you to even give further credit to your customers. Of course, training and skill development of employees, and so many other initiatives that the member cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks and rural cooperative banks so badly need today. This would be one entity, one umbrella organization, which would not only bring all of these capabilities together on one platform, but through its membership, be able to reach out to each and every cooperative bank and also to play an important part in improving their functioning. So that's a very, very important measure, the establishment of the umbrella entity, which we've been discussing and which I wanted to highlight today. As I stated at the outset, at the beginning of my remarks, credit cooperatives can be efficient tools for financial inclusion by distributing agriculture credit to small-scale farmers, rural producers, for example. And, you know, Government of India has been taking some key steps in this direction. For example, you know that priority sector lending targets are already higher. The PSL targets, which are 40% for agriculture credit as far as the scheduled commercial banks are concerned, are actually higher at 75% for regional rural banks. And now the cooperative banks are also expected that 75% of their ANBC, the adjusted net bank credit, for those of you who know, is to be given as credit to this sector, to the priority sector, agricultural lending, etc. Now, this is an extremely important step because with your reach and with the improved technology in the years to come, I think the farmers and the rural producers across the country would benefit not only by a greater liquidity and greater amount of loans that become available, but also lowering the cost of the borrowing. How do the costs get lowered? Well, because your transaction costs should be lower. You are closer to the ground. You are much closer to your ultimate borrower in the field. And therefore, it allows you to lower your costs of collecting information, which is crucial to appraisals, credit appraisals, and also to the credit outreach process. You are closer to the producers, and therefore you are continuously monitoring their activities. You are in a position to give them advice on not only on agricultural techniques, but also on the best way forward as far as financing some of their short-term needs, working capital requirements, for example, are concerned, or even the connected areas, for example, logistics. You know that NABARD has undertaken a big program for geotagging of warehouses, which was announced in the budget. We are geotagging different warehouses by which farmers across the country can have access on a public platform as to the nearest warehouse with capacity to take their goods. And in this way, with these scientific techniques using satellite technology, this is just one example that I wanted to give to you as to how, along with technology and along with some of these key reform measures, cooperative banks could be very well placed to serve the priority sector lending needs of our country. Now, having spoken about some of the strengths and opportunities of the sector, let me also talk to you about the scenario, the current scenario in the banking sector, which is extremely competitive, as you all know. Today, the cooperative banks are pitted against their rival banks. I'm not talking just about the public sector banks or the scheduled commercial banks. Here, I'm also talking about new entrants like the small finance banks, which are suddenly growing and prospering and doing quite well, I must say. But not just the small finance banks, but also fintech companies. You are seeing today a proliferation of fintechs across the country, whether it is in the nature of aggregators of information or aggregators of credit, financial products, but also fintechs that are working to provide investment opportunities and avenues to small savers, small borrowers, and their various needs. So therefore, this represents a competitive challenge which we have to rise towards. Now, these competitors of cooperative banks also are equipped with the latest technology. They don't have legacy infrastructure. They actually are very small, nimble, and they have the latest technology at their command. So therefore, it has become even more imperative today. We've been talking about the need for adoption of technology and strengthening our digital platforms. But with this kind of competitive scenario, it is even more important for the growth and survival of cooperative banks to invest in IT infrastructure. In fact, we have been in the ministry discussing how through NABARD and how through some of the commercial banks, which are the sponsor banks of regional rural banks, how we could infuse further funds and strengthen the IT infrastructure of these banks. So I think that is a key challenge, whereby by investing in IT infrastructure, you are able to offer customized digital products and services, and not just a variety of products, but also services and products at an affordable cost, which is very important. You are to be competitive in the interest rate regime that you offer. You are required to be competitive in the kind of rates that you offer to savers in your bank accounts. Otherwise, today competition is everywhere, and the farmer, the small and poor, and the needy have choice across. It's not as if they will come only to the nearest bank or the nearest counter. They have a choice, and they can reach out across to various different kinds of banks. Therefore, I think for your own prosperity, which comes through growth, you are required to invest in technology and technology implementation. This is one aspect which I cannot overemphasize more, because the adoption of technology and investment in IT has been quite slow in the cooperative banking sector. I don't mean this as a criticism. All I'm trying to convince you is of the need, better late than never, but the time has come whereby we need to emphasize the importance of the digital platform, because today you would have seen even the likes of SBI, Bank of Baroda, and so many others are investing in mobile platforms, in mobile banking. Internet banking is a thing of the past. And I will in a minute talk about some of the reforms that we are doing in public sector banks. So therefore, that gap in the implementation of technology, that gap that has emerged between the cooperative sector and the rest of the banking sector as far as digital platforms is concerned, needs to be bridged at the earliest. I would like to now take just about a minute to talk about some of the reforms that we've been making in the public sector banks, simply to set out an example or a role model for the cooperative banks also to follow. This is something in which my colleagues and I in the Department of Financial Services have been really investing our time and effort. You may have read about the EASE reforms, EASE, which stands for Enhanced Access and Service Excellence. My minister, Honorable Finance Minister of India, recently unveiled the latest version of the EASE reforms. Now here there are multiple objectives to improve the functioning of public sector banks, but mainly to enhance their customer friendliness, their orientation to client service. We have been moving from one phase to another of these reforms. And we talked about doorstep banking, we talked about 24/7 customer services through our internet and through our mobile platforms. Today, we are talking about smart and clean banking, that is by adoption of technology, by adoption of mobile banking, and by providing 24/7 customer access through some of these platforms. So we are talking about service to the customer, but we are also talking about a number of other areas. Let me just give you one or two examples of what we mean. The core banking system has already been there. Today, we are talking in terms of strengthening the core banking system in such a way through Aadhaar seeding, through the JAM Trinity, we are able to access customers' accounts and provide to them direct benefits transfers, direct, e-KYC is there, so you can easily conduct the KYC for customers. And then once Aadhaar number, etc., is seeded into the account, then direct benefits transfers can take place. And this came in recently very handy in the entire pandemic COVID-19 period, when because of this linkage, the seamless flow to the customer's ultimate account, we were able to provide relief. For example, we provided 20.5 crore women Jan Dhan account holders with 31,000 crore rupees of direct cash transfers. And this was really helpful to them to meet their household expenses during the lockdown. So that is the kind of seamless functioning that you need to have with your core banking systems. As far as the problem of defaults and NPAs is concerned, it is important to monitor the customers. It is important to handhold, but it is also important to pursue recovery efforts in a very persistent manner. But more important is to prevent slippages from if there is an asset, if there is a loan borrower who slips into the stressed assets category and ultimately becomes an NPA, the onus somewhere in that path lies on us and on our systems to have an early warning alert, early warning systems. So as a part of the EASE reforms, we are also equipping, or we are guiding the banks towards EWS, early warning systems, towards more sophisticated risk management practices and various initiatives of this kind, which will keep the health of bank balance sheets in the pink. And just finally, also to mention some of the new ideas that are percolating. With the use of smart banking, with the use of technology, we have access to data analytics. We have access to the customer account and customer behaviors. So today, in fact, as I speak, we have launched a pilot for cash flow based lending. A pilot has been launched in Sevapuri block of Varanasi district. And this is in fact a direction from our Honorable Prime Minister himself, that, why should we lend based only on collaterals that the borrowers provide? We should actually do data analytics around the cash inflows and outflows, the transactions in a person's account. So if there is a Jan Dhan account, for instance, and it is receiving the direct benefits regularly, or a farmer is receiving PM Kisan Nidhi, for example, and then the KCC related working capital, etc., then through the data analytics platform, we are able to assess and offer small ticket loans for, they may be small ticket loans to begin with, but they are cash flow based and no additional collateral requirements are there. And this can really help the small borrowers. As we have seen in recent times, a lot of our schemes that were announced during the pandemic, particularly in the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, are talking about partial credit guarantees, are talking about the need to give extra, that 20% extra working capital without asking for additional collateral. So the way forward that these reforms are showing, not just to public sector banks, but also to cooperative banks, is sophisticated analytics, customer information, build your product offerings around cash flows and not necessarily on enhanced collateral basis, which is actually lazy banking. And I think that is the way to go. So these are just a few examples I thought important to highlight to you as to where the future for the cooperative banking sector could be headed. I think I've taken enough of your time, but just finally, I again wanted to repeat that given the crucial role that all of you play, given the very important contributions that cooperative banks make towards our economy, particularly our agriculture and rural economic development, I think you are going to play a key integral role in the policies and in the implementation of the steps that Government of India particularly has been taking, some of which I talked about earlier. And we really expect in the Ministry of Finance that the cooperative banking sector will be a key ally, a real partner in this process by which affordable credit and access to financial services is being made across the country to every individual, every unbanked adult, and every household in our country, irrespective of where they are and irrespective of what their status is. And that is ultimately where the cooperative banking sector will play such an important role in the growth and development of our country, in realizing the $5 trillion vision, that goal which our Prime Minister has set for us all today. I think striving towards that, you have a very crucial role to play. And I would like to thank you very much. Once again, I would like to congratulate the winners of these awards and also to encourage you to continue to do the good work that you've been doing. Thank you very much.